Totally different. She would only speak to the audience when the cameras were rolling. As soon as they turned the cameras off, she would not even acknowledge the audience. She would just sit on the couch, basically.
Toxic, phony, hypocrite, liar. That's what she is.
Ellen DeGeneres might be the most perfect case study of what happens when a carefully built persona completely falls apart the second people stop playing along. For decades, Ellen positioned herself as America's wholesome daytime queen. The safe comedian who danced, made people laugh, and told everyone to be kind while somehow convincing millions she was different from typical Hollywood phoniness. She wasn't controversial or edgy. She was safe, comfortable, relatable, and that's exactly why watching her crash and burn felt so satisfying. Because when her reputation finally cracked, it didn't happen overnight in some explosive scandal. It unraveled slowly, one story at a time, until there was nothing left to salvage.
Everybody heard that I was mean. Everywhere I go, I know everyone's heard that I'm mean. I know when I walk into a restaurant, people are watching, waiting to see if I'll be mean. Oh, look, she's reaching for butter. I thought she was gonna hit somebody.
It kicked off the way most modern celebrity meltdowns do. Not with some leaked document or formal investigation, just one single tweet. March 2020, someone asked a simple question. What are the most insane stories you've heard about Ellen being mean? That's all it took. No proof attached, no specific accusations, just an open invitation, and people absolutely flooded in. What came next felt unreal. Story after story from servers, Warner Brothers employees, random people who crossed paths with her. A server claimed Ellen wrote to management, complaining about their chipped nail polish, almost getting them fired. A Warner Brothers worker said they got terminated for holding an elevator and asking what floor she needed. Another staffer said Ellen went off on them for making eye contact. The descriptions were identical across the board. Cold, controlling, intimidating energy toward anyone who wasn't famous or useful.
We were told from the very beginning, don't talk to Ellen, don't do this, you can't, go into her office. It was very nerve-wracking, very stressful. We all walked on eggshells all the time.
On its own, any single story could be dismissed, but the volume was the problem. Different people, different cities, different years, all saying the exact same thing. That cheerful TV personality suddenly looked like a costume. Then employees from her actual show started speaking up, and that's when this went from Ellen is rude to something way more serious. People described a genuinely toxic workplace. Staff afraid to speak up, managers enforcing silence like their lives depended on it, people getting punished for taking medical leave or grieving family. BuzzFeed's investigation didn't use random internet comments. It used former producers, writers, and staff with actual receipts and zero reason to lie. They painted a picture of Ellen not just being distant, but actively feared. A workplace where you couldn't speak to her directly, where mistakes got you punished instead of corrected, where kindness only existed when cameras were rolling. That's when her brand shattered completely. Be kind wasn't just her catchphrase, it was supposed to be her entire identity. Once people realized it was fake, everything collapsed at once. The jokes felt empty, the dancing felt performative, people started rewatching old clips, and suddenly moments that seemed funny before felt deeply uncomfortable. Her snapping at audience members, humiliating guests under the excuse of comedy, asserting dominance instead of warmth. It wasn't new behavior, it was just finally being seen clearly.
All right, well, let me catch up on what's been going on with me since you saw me last. Oh yeah, I got kicked out of show business.
Ellen's response was a textbook damage control. Apologize vaguely without admitting real responsibility. Blame the managers below you. Claim you had no idea what was happening on your own show. Promise change. For a brief moment, it actually seemed to work. The show came back. Audiences clapped on command. The machine kept running. But something fundamental had shifted. Ratings tanked. Viewers left. The magic evaporated. Ellen looked exhausted and resentful, dancing less, relying more on reruns and guest hosts. The show felt like a chore instead of entertainment. When the New York Times reported she'd lost over 1 million viewers in 6 months, it became obvious this wasn't temporary damage control. This was permanent. When she finally announced the show was ending, she spun it as wanting new challenges and family time. Nobody bought it. Not the industry, not the audience. She didn't look like someone choosing to leave, she looked like someone who got pushed out politely. After the show ended, Ellen tried launching a few projects, nothing worked. Then she disappeared for a while. Quiet retirement, clean exit. That's what it looked like until Diddy happened. Because the second the Diddy investigation exploded, Ellen's name started popping up in conversations again. Not as someone accused of crimes, but as someone who was there, who joked about things people now take seriously, who had proximity to a world getting exposed in the harshest way.
Is that going to be a new thing? Are you going to try to be early?
Yes, I'm trying to be early.
Are you going to be early for my party?
Yes, I am. No.
No.
You know I have to arrive fashionably late.
All right. Not too late, though.
Not too late?
Not too late, please.
What time would you like me there?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But not too late, because, you know, once you get there, the party really starts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Old clips resurfaced showing Ellen laughing with Diddy about his parties, acknowledging she knew about them. At the time, it was harmless celebrity banter. Now with trafficking and abuse allegations surrounding his operation, those jokes hit completely different. There's this one moment where Diddy jokes that the real parties start after midnight on the top floors of hotels, and Ellen laughs like she's already in on it. Not surprised, not confused, just familiar. That familiarity is what made people deeply uncomfortable. Joe Rogan was the first big voice to call out the silence directly. He didn't accuse Ellen of crimes or claim she knew specifics. He just asked the obvious question: why are some celebrities immediately distancing themselves and issuing statements while Ellen goes completely dark? Why does her name get handled like it's radioactive? Rogan framed it as Hollywood protecting its favorites, people too valuable, too connected, too polished to touch. And Ellen fits that description perfectly. She wasn't just some host, she was a gatekeeper who could make or break careers with a smile. When someone with that much power goes silent during a scandal this massive, people don't think innocence, they think strategy. That's why her move to the UK felt so suspicious. Officially, it was about politics and wanting peace, but the timing was brutal. She bounced right as Diddy's situation escalated and more names started circulating. Fair or not, it looked like running. Her entire post-show existence has been controlled distance. No interviews, no confrontations, no questions. Just Instagram posts of countryside life and animals. Rebranding through absence. But absence doesn't work when the internet has receipts and refuses to forget.
This audience member on The Ellen Show is now revealing how she went from thrilled to getting really upset.
You just expect a lot when you go to meet like your idol, and then when you get disappointed, it's like such a letdown.
In 2018, Dana DiMatteo flew from Chicago to Los Angeles and was delighted to be picked out of the audience to have some fun with Ellen. But then she says she was shocked when she was briefed on the comedy bit by the producers.
They tell you, you can't be smarter, funnier than Ellen. She's the comedian and the star, not you.
Ellen's motto is be kind.
Be kind to one another.
But Dana says Ellen was actually the opposite on the day she visited.
How does the Ellen we see on TV compare to the Ellen you saw when the cameras stopped rolling?
Totally different. She would only speak to the audience when the cameras were rolling. As soon as they turned the cameras off, she would not even acknowledge the audience. She would just sit on the couch, basically.
As more Diddy information kept dropping, people started connecting dots that were always there but got ignored. Ellen's control issues, her behind-the-scenes cruelty, her ability to command silence, her rule that nobody could speak to her unless spoken to first. Former staff describing this Ellen stare, where people felt intimidated without her saying anything. When you line up those traits next to other powerful figures who ruled through fear and loyalty, the comparison gets uncomfortable. Not identical, but close enough to raise serious questions. That's why rumors exploded so fast. Not because they were proven, but because trust was already destroyed. When people believe you're capable of cruelty, they start believing you're capable of worse. Her Netflix special felt like damage control instead of honesty. She framed herself as canceled over one tweet, one misunderstanding blown out of proportion. That's not what happened, and everyone knew it. She didn't actually address the workplace stuff. She didn't apologize to people who lost careers or mental health working under her. She just joked about being misunderstood and how people can't handle honesty. For some people, that felt refreshing. For most, it felt like gaslighting. This is what makes Ellen different from typical cancellations. She didn't get taken out by one scandal. She got hollowed out by years of behavior finally catching up. Joe Rogan didn't just mention Ellen randomly. He placed her inside a system. A system where powerful people protect each other until they can't anymore, where smiling brands hide brutal truths, where silence equals currency. Ellen spent decades building moral authority, calling others out, embarrassing guests, holding the microphone. Now, when it's pointed at her, she refuses to speak. That's why people won't let this go. Even if Ellen never committed crimes, her behavior mirrors the same arrogance that let worse people operate unchecked. The belief that rules don't apply to you, that you can brand yourself as kind while being cruel behind closed doors. That power protects you forever. History proves that protection always expires. Ellen's legacy isn't hers to control anymore. It's being written by former employees, resurfaced clips, and cultural memory. The scariest part for her isn't legal trouble. It's becoming irrelevant while being suspicious, only getting mentioned in connection to darker stories, being remembered for silence instead of dancing. What do you think? Is this just bad timing and internet mob mentality? Or does Ellen's silence say everything we need to know? Is Hollywood still protecting her, or is this the calm before things get messier? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you're new.